This is awesome. I just had to share it.
Okay, so I have a question.
On that.
I have a question. Is Moses one person or multiple people?
He's one person.
Okay, so why is Moses called Elohim? In the Old Testament, Moses is called
Where do you see
Elohim.
Moses
and that
quoted?
yeah, for example, I believe it's in the
verse.
book. I believe it's in the book of Exodus.
But if you
Moses
can't
is
quote the
called.
verse, you
He
can't
is
contend
made
on
an
that.
Elohim.
If you cannot quote
He
the
is
verse,
made
you
an.
cannot
Wait, hold on.
contend
Do you
on that.
disagree that that's in the Bible?
Plurality, though, is so Elohim is a word that can have plurality.
But it can also have singularity, correct?
Singularity.
Okay, beautiful. So if we concede that Elohim can have both plurality and singularity, then the only way that you can already presuppose that Elohim in this instance is going to indicate plurality is if you're already reading your Trinitarian view into the Old Testament, which is disingenuous because
You're being disingenuous because that is a false dichotomy. One of the biggest mistakes people make when reading the Bible is assuming that the word Elohim only means God, and it doesn't. Elohim is a broader category than that. Yahweh is Elohim, but not every Elohim is Yahweh. Elohim refers to inhabitants of the spiritual realm. There is only one creator, only one uncreated source of all things, only one Yahweh, but scripture uses the term Elohim for a variety of spiritual beings. And this is where Psalms 82 becomes so important. God stands in the divine council and judges among the Elohim. If Elohim only meant God in the modern sense, the psalm would make no sense at all. Instead, we are witnessing a heavenly court, a divine council, and Job gives us another glimpse into this reality when the sons of God present themselves before the Lord. The Elohim are made present once more. The ancient imagination, the ancient Jewish imagination, understood that God ruled creation through a heavenly host, not because he needed them, but because God delights in sharing his rule. And this is where humanity enters the story. The garden was never merely a place. Eden was a vocation. Humanity was created to bear the image of God and to rule with him. Adam and Eve were not created as slaves but as co-regents, image bearers, sub-creators of creation. This is why the temptation in the garden is so ironic. Satan offers them what they already possessed. They were already called to rule with God, but they attempted to grasp for power rather than receive it as a gift. When they took of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it was not merely moral acknowledgement. According to antiquity and scholarship, it is the attempt to seize for oneself the authority to determine reality apart from God. The mark of one fit to rule with God is not grasping for power, however, it's trusting the one from whom all power comes. The true king is the servant. The true ruler receives rather than stealing it away. So all of this helps us understand the difficult language of Psalms 82. You are gods, you are Elohim. What could this possibly mean? It does not mean a change in nature. It does not mean that human beings become divine by essence. It does not mean that we cease being creatures. Rather, it speaks to humanity's calling to participate in God's rule. Gods, in this context, means ruling and reigning under God. It means bearing his image. It means acting as his representatives within creation. This sounds a lot like Moses, doesn't it? God desires collaboration. He wants co-agents of redemption, image bearers who bring peace, order, and goodness into the world. This is why C.S. Lewis could speak of humanity as half gods, not because we are divine by nature, but because we are destined for glory far greater than we could presently imagine. We are creatures called into communion with God and to participate in his work. And Jesus takes this language and applies it in John chapter 10. Jesus quotes Psalms 82. Is it not written in your law? I said you are gods. Jesus there is not teaching that everyone is secretly divine. He's speaking to the Pharisees and reminding them that scripture itself contains this language. His argument is not that everyone is God. His argument is that if scripture can use this language for those entrusted with God's authority, why are they scandalizing it when he calls himself the Son of God? And in John chapter 10, this is where the category distinction appears. Jesus is not placing himself inside the category of the psalm. He places himself outside of it. Because right after Jesus says, hey Pharisees, you have been given a role to rule with God, he says, the Father and I are one, though. He categorizes himself outside of the role of Elohim, little e, and says that he is Yahweh. And the Pharisees knew exactly what he's doing because the text says they picked up stones and tried to kill him because he's committed blasphemy. He's claimed to be God himself. He is placing himself beyond everything and everyone. The rulers of Psalms 82 receive authority. Jesus possesses authority. The rulers of Psalms 82 represent God. Jesus reveals himself as God by claiming the Father and I are one. The rulers of Psalms 82 are our image bearers. Jesus is saying, I am the image. I am who I am. The rulers of Psalms 82 are creatures. Jesus is the Son of God. This is why Gregory the theologian could say God cannot be truly named. God is not one being among others. God does not exist in the same way that creatures exist. He is the source of existence itself. He is not a thing within reality. He is what what reality depends upon. Which is why Jesus ultimately refuses every category. He is not merely another ruler, another prophet, another image bearer, but the Son of God. When Jesus says, before Abraham, I am, he places himself beyond every category available to creation. Again, the Pharisees knew this. He was not claiming to be one more participant in the divine council. He was identifying himself with the one from the divine council receives its existence. The entire biblical story moves from Eden to Christ. Humanity always was called to rule with God, to bear his image, to participate in his work. Christ does not abolish that calling. He fulfills it. He is the second Adam, the true image, the true king, and through him, humanity is invited back into its original vocation, not to become God by nature, but to share in life and rule by God's grace.